Hi, I'm Gordon Young from the Institute of Applied Psychology. If you are looking to become a clinical hypnotherapist and are looking to undergo some training, it's really crucial that you know which type of hypnotherapy that school teaches. So most people don't even realize there are different types of hypnotherapy. There are basically three main categories, and then there's a sort of subsets underneath it all. Which type of hypnotherapy you decide to train in will determine your results. They're not all equal. Some are 50, 60 years old, some are 40 years old, some are much more recent. So it's really important that you know what you're studying because you don't just want a qualification, you actually want a career where you're going to do good things in the world. That would be my assumption. And that will start with the type of therapy you master. So let me take you through this. So as I just said, the truth is the qualification is only of value if it secures you a effective career. I'm assuming what you mean by that would be a busy practice, choosing your own times, but being effective does give you that possibility. Solid income, working part-time, 15 to 20 hours a week, but getting a full-time income. I'm going to say that's probably what most people want. You want a rewarding career to make a difference. A lot of people come out of the corporate world in their 30s and 40s where they don't feel like they're making that much of a difference. And they come into this looking to get results for people, to help people get unstuck. Again, it'll come back to what type of hypnotherapy you've got that's going to allow you to work with more and different people. And basically creating life on your terms where you get to decide when you work, when you don't. If you want to take school holidays off, that's okay. You can organize it because you're running your own enterprise. You don't have a boss, you don't have commitments outside of you. So you get to run it. But you've got to have people willing to come and see you. You've got to have a busy practice to make all that work. And that's going to start with decent training in the beginning. So a certificate's going to get into the association. That's not going to necessarily get you a career. You want it to be advanced and you want it to be evidence supported because increasingly the world is moving towards evidence-based approaches. And if you are operating one that isn't particularly evidence-based, you may like it, you might feel very warmly towards the possibilities of it, you might enjoy it, but it isn't evidence-based, and a client decides to challenge you on that, then you don't have much to stand on. And you also want ongoing support post-graduation because you are largely going to be working by yourselves in your own practices. So the level of support that the school gives you will be crucial. And I'm going to say, ideally, you're going to want government accreditation. Let me come back to that. So not all hypnosis is the same. It's a really important distinction. For a lot of people, hypnosis is hypnosis. No, it isn't. There's a traditional or something called authoritarian hypnosis. There is Ericksonian or permissive hypnosis, more the 60s, 70s, 80s. And then there's Neo-Ericksonian. Erickson passed away in the 1980s. And since then, there's been a lot of development in psychotherapy and the understanding of how the mind works. And so Neo-Ericksonian includes a lot of the more modern understandings of cognition, behavior, and the various patterns that we run. We teach a Neo-Ericksonian hypnosis style. We call it strategic hypnosis. I'm one of the few people in the country, maybe even the only person in the country, that has trained thoroughly in all three. My first training was traditional and authoritarian script reading. That's all we did was study scripts. Then I went to Americans, trained with the Milton Erickson Foundation in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was all Ericksonian. You need a master's degree to even be a student there, which is why more people haven't done that training in Australia. And then I went and trained with a guy called Michael Yabko, a lot of Erickson students themselves, and looked at all the developments since Erickson. So, how do you compare the three? Well, you've got to make a decision which one you're going to study. The first one, traditional, a lot of guided visualizations. The overall aim is relaxation, so calming down the system. It's often scripted, but you're typically telling people what to do. From now on, you will feel confident. From now on, you are strong and certain of yourself. You believe in yourself. Very much telling you that has real limitations, because telling people that they are now confident when they don't know how to be confident is a gap for this model. It's very much a Freudian approach. All problems start in childhood, and it doesn't matter how old you are, they still want to take you back to childhood. It's very prescriptive. So they've got a script before the client arrives. They might have 5 stop smoking scripts, and they're going to read whichever one they think is best for the client, or they're going to read whichever one they haven't read for a while. So they're sick of reading one, they're going to start reading another one. Ericksonian or permissive hypnosis is solution oriented. It's not about the past, it's about the future. It's conversational. And the therapist would offer the client possibilities and then get the client to encourage them to recognize their capacities. As an Ericksonian hypnosis, you're not going to tell the client what to do. You're not going to give them advice per se. And it's tailored to the client. All your work comes out of the interview you have with the client. It's not preset before the client arrives. So it automatically has a higher success rate. Why? Because any scripted approach, whether it's in sales or anything else, has a built-in failure rate. If the script absolutely matches in with the person, yeah, happy days, they're going to get an outcome. But if it doesn't particularly sit with them, you're not really going to get very far. Most script reading hypnotherapists I know, when you ask them what their success rate is, it's somewhere between 50 and 30% most of the time. So 1 in 2 at best gets an outcome that they're looking for. Now, I don't know about you, but if I had to explain or have to have the conversation that something didn't work 50% of the time, I wouldn't want to be a therapist. So the third type over here is neo-Ericksonian, and that includes an integration of solution orientation, cognitive patterns, behavioral patterns. So we're going to look at how does the person create the problem? What are they thinking? What are they telling themselves? There's only 2 things that really trip us up as human beings: what we don't know and what we think we know that isn't so. So you may not know how to manage a difficult person. That's what you don't know. That's going to trip you up. What you think you know that isn't so is something like, I'm not good enough. You think you know that, but that's getting in the way because it's not true. You're good enough to do all sorts of things, but you'll tell yourself that you're not. So Ericksonian hypnosis plus this added integration is by far the most effective model that I've ever found. It's conversational. Again, you're going to offer possibilities, but you're also going to challenge the person's map, their cognitive map. You're going to help them change the way they see things. So, for instance, a scripted approach doesn't necessarily teach the person how to perceive the world differently. It just tells them to cheer up or relax or be more confident. An Ericksonian approach is going to look at where are they more confident? Where are they more effective? Can we glean some of that pattern from that context and bring it over to the problem area? Again, it's tailored, but this one is more targeted. So the simplest example I can give you is, how does each one treat anxiety, which is 85% of what's going to come through your door is going to be anxiety. It's the plague of our time at the moment. A traditional hypnotherapist is going to tell them to stop worrying and to be confident. They might put them in a calm blue ocean or a beautiful rainforest and get them to imagine relaxing. They might take them into childhood and look for trauma that they're going to say is the root cause of being anxious. It's relatively low effective. People often feel better. There's no doubt about it. I remember when I first started, I used to put people through rainbows and they loved it. I'd get them to sweep in and out of a rainbow through all the different colors. They came out, they loved it. For 2, 3 days, they'd be euphoric. And then the anxiety would come back. And right there was the problem. They thought the anxiety was something that was hitting them. They didn't recognize they were generating the anxiety with their own thoughts and feelings. The reality is, any approach to treatment for anxiety must include helping them recognize how they assess risk. If someone's anxious, they're seeing risk where other people around them are not seeing risk. They're having trouble making a distinction between what is probable and what is merely possible. Anyone who's anxious tends to include possibilities, like one chance in 100, into the probable. So they worry about just about everything. And so, unless you change that pattern, doing the calm blue ocean stuff, they're going to have to do it for the rest of their life, because they're just going to keep generating and keep generating that anxiety. They'll feel better for a while, but it won't last. That's one of the reasons why I left the traditional format. It's easy to do. You just read a script. Now, that doesn't really sit with me very well, but it's easy. But your success rate's low. The Ericksonian is more complex. You've got to actually think on your feet a bit, but it's much higher success rate. The third one, Neo-Ericksonian, there's actual tailored patterns to resolve the actual problem, and then you weave in all the individual elements that you picked up from the client in the interview. So I know that I have to change the way you assess risk. I know that you're overthinking things. You're excessively ruminating and you focus on the negative if you're running anxiety. That I know before you arrive, because there's only a few ways you can run anxiety. And so if I know the pattern of anxiety, which I'm going to teach you in the Neo-Erickson Hypnosis course, then you largely know what the client's doing. 60% of it you know before they arrive, and the rest of it you're going to work out, particular belief structures, particular context. What specifically are they concerned about is going to be very individual, but the overall pattern's the same. Overthink things, hold a lot of tension around it, focus on the negative, dismiss the positive, feel like you're out of control and that you can't really run this or this. That's how you do it. So the Neo-Erickson approach is by far the most successful model I've ever seen, so much so that I just switched all my allegiances across to it, because the truth is, I don't really have an allegiance to a particular model. I have an allegiance to the client's success. I want a result for the client. I'm being paid, and I don't want them to leave no better off, or, worse still, less effective than they were before. So I take that pretty seriously. I want me and more of my students to get outcomes predictably. Now, if you're the type of person who doesn't want to be able to sit there or have to sit there and think, I don't know if this is working or not, or wait for the client to show up and you're concerned that over that next week, nothing's really happened, it's going to be very difficult to be a therapist unless you learn this more Neo-Ericksonian approach. The other two, one of my students who spends a lot of time talking to traditional hypnotherapists said it's more like a shotgun effect where you just throw basically fire in the wall at the wall and hope you hit something. And that's what I think too, is it is kind of like throwing darts at a wall and hoping you strike something. And it's real hit or miss. The neo approach is very tailored and very targeted. So Irving Kirsch is a Harvard professor, Harvard School of Medicine. He basically did a meta-analysis of how something that is pretty much equivalent to our strategic hypnosis model, and found that effectively combining cognitive behavioral type therapies with the hypnosis as a vehicle of delivery was increasing the effectiveness of the model by about up to 70%. So cognitive behavioral therapy, some people like it, some people don't, but it's the most well-researched model out there, and it's considered to be the gold standard of therapy. Hypnotherapy, combined with cognitive forms of therapy, can increase the success rate by another 60 to 70%. That's a highly effective model. I encourage you to look that up if you choose. So we are not right for you. Let's be clear. We're not right for everyone. We're not right for you if you want the quickest or the cheapest course and you want to hope that it's enough. Quickest, cheapest, more convenient isn't going to make you a great therapist. You know, my greatest fear when I first started therapy was a client pouring their heart out to me, crying, and then me thinking to myself, I've got no idea what to do here. I didn't want to be in that situation. If you take on cheaper, quicker courses, you got a really good chance of having to deal with that. If you just want to do the bare minimum to get through a qualification, then we're probably, again, not right for you. We want you to be well prepared when you qualify, so that you aren't so scared of your clients because you don't really know what you're doing. If you want to learn things like past life regression, we don't teach anything like that because the risk from an insurance perspective, the risk is really, really high. And again, some people are quite drawn to those sort of models. I've trained in it myself, but it's not worth the risk. If you don't need to know how the mind works, you just want to read the script, then again, we're not right for you. I know I've spoken to people who just want to read a script because they don't want to have to learn too much, and they don't really care if it works or not. So again, that person's not right for us. And if you're not really so much about ongoing support, you just want to get your certificate and go, then a lot of what we offer isn't really for you. We maintain relationships with our graduates. There's ongoing seminars and workshops. And there's a whole something we call a Learning Annex, which has up to about 400 different videos and audios and demonstrations of me working with people so that you can watch me work on a particular topic area, maybe the night before your client comes in, just to give yourself a top up on what to do and what maybe not to do. That's a significant bit of support, but not everyone values that. We are right for you if you really want to make a difference. I know that seems like it should be everyone who comes in the field. I think you'd be surprised. Some people are trying to make a fast buck. That's all they want to do. We want to make a difference here. And we want to make sure that you're making a difference as well, because that's how we make a larger difference. We do it through you guys who come and train with us. You want to create your life as you choose for the next decade or more. Again, you can't have a great career if you don't have raving fans. Every one of your clients should be a raving fan of yours. That's how you get to have a strong career, is you get enough people recommending you that you're going to be busy. After you've seen the first 100 people, you should start to expect 25 to 30% of your clients are just going to be recommendation. At some point, that's going to be over 50%. In some cases, I've got graduates where it's more like 70% is recommendation. They don't care how much you cost because you're considered the best. They know people that got great result with you. So you don't have to even discuss things like money or what you do. It's an easy sell. So if you want a full career, we're the right people for you. If you want a reliable process to follow, but it's not scripted, what we do is we give you a structure, a framework. And so you can operate within that framework and you're going to get good results because problems are consistent. Everyone who's doing anxiety does it in a similar way. The differences are more like 20, 30%, but the bulk of it's all the same. And so we can help you tailor to the particular client, but there are some things that are universal. And I've mentioned before, overanalysis, negative thinking, feeling like you're not in control, projecting into the future and catastrophizing. This is all part of anxiety. You can't really do it any other way. And I'm going to say that my graduates, my students tend to be responsible. They know they're messing with someone's head, so they don't want to take shortcuts. It always baffles me that people want to do something like hypnosis and they want to take the shortcut. They want to do like a weekend and then go out there and try and tell people they're a hypnotherapist. They're really dangerous in the field. Hypnosis is a powerful tool. You have to know how to use it. But they're drawn to it because it's powerful. Well, those people can get it wrong. And increasingly, those people will pay a financial price for that indiscretion. So you've got to be well trained. You've got to want to make sure that you care about the client. And this is something that I find most of my graduates are really strong on. If you want to learn properly and you say no to mediocrity, then again, we're right for you. So I mentioned government accreditation before, and this simple framework that's easy to learn is crucial in getting you up to speed quickly. But I mentioned the government accreditation piece, and I do that because there's some of the schools are saying that there's an equivalent, that their courses are the equivalent of government accreditation, and that's just not true. It's not true according to looks like for the health funds are looking to review the way they cover health funds. We don't know exactly what's going to happen there, but there's the potential of a two-tiered system. Internationally, a government accredited training is recognized almost everywhere. We have graduates who are operating in Paris, France, in the UK, in the USA, in parts of Asia, where a standard hypnotherapy course run by an individual has no real clout. So choose wisely. Speak to one of our course advisors on this phone number and get your questions answered. In some cases, you don't even know what the question is, but the more you find out, the more you'll understand. You need to make an informed decision, and then hopefully you'll make the right one. It is a wonderful field to come into. There's such a need for good therapists now. It's going through the roof, the whole mental health space. But you've got to be able to have the right tools and you've got to have the right attitude and you'll be effective and you'll be successful. But you've got to get trained well in the first place. All right. Hopefully that's been helpful. Please talk to us. There is possibilities of you sitting in for an hour into the course. That's another possibility if you want to just get a feel for how we operate. There's a few different ways we can do it, but we want you to be well informed before you make a decision.